Over the last few years, Philippine Airlines has been one of the most talked about airlines in the aviation industry. While its expansion and refleeting program makes headlines, it's Asia's oldest airline, and no discussion about the history of air travel in the region would be complete without mentioning Philippine Airlines. With the recent purchase made by Japan's All Nippon Airways, a 10% stake in the Manila-based airline, the carrier is looking to join the ranks of the world's elite airlines. With its ambitious plans for the future, it's a good time now to take a look at the history of Asia's sunniest airline, Philippine Airlines. As the world saw the start of World War II, Philippine Airlines, or PAL for short, was founded by a group of Filipino businessmen, with the first flights taking off from Nielsen Airfield, where modern-day Makati in Manila is today. The flights took off to Baguio just months before the Japanese invasion, leading to the airline ceasing operations for over 5 years. In the aftermath of World War II, Philippine Airlines became the first airline to operate trans-Pacific flights between Manila and San Francisco. At the same time, flights were introduced between Manila and Hong Kong, Shanghai, Rome, Madrid, London, Karachi, and Cairo. In 1947, the airline would eventually relocate to Nichols Airfield, the site where Manila's Ninoy Aquino Airport is today. In addition to being a pioneer in trans-Pacific travel, Philippine Airlines would play a major role in the formation of another airline in the region. In 1951, Philippine Airlines, along with Northwest Airlines, lent DC-3 aircraft to the Japanese government, leading to the formation of Japan Airlines. The 1950s and 60s saw the introduction of jet services using DC-8s, and the new technology was also extended for the first time to domestic destinations. Along with the new transition to the jet services, the airline was privatized for the first time in 1965. Philippine Airlines was growing along with the newly independent Philippines as a young country began to dictate its own political path. Politics would eventually affect its operations after martial law was declared in the country in the early 1970s. Under the mandate of then-President Ferdinand Marcos, Philippine Airlines was then declared a national carrier under a one-airline policy, absorbing 2 other competing airlines. As the national carrier in the 1970s and 80s, the airline replaced the older jet aircraft with Boeing 747-200s, 727s, DC-10s, and A300s, which the airline would later market heavily as a love bus. The ongoing political turmoil and a series of accidents would cause the airline to report losses in the late 1980s. As martial law in the Philippines ended, the airline continued to add new aircraft to its fleet, but also saw a new rising demand for domestic air travel. That prompted the airline to convert a hangar at Manila's airport for domestic flights, which, that hangar turned terminal, is now called Terminal 4, which is known to Filipino travelers as the old domestic terminal. No longer being the monopoly carrier in the country, the 1990s were a time of disruption in the aviation industry in the Philippines. New low-cost challengers such as Cebu Pacific and Air Philippines emerged, and the airline was privatized in 1992. In 1995, Philippine business tycoon Lucio Tan took the helm of the airline as president and CEO. Among the first acts as head of the airline was a $4 billion refleeting program, which Philippine Airlines acquired 36 new aircraft, including Boeing 747s, Airbus A340s, A330s, and A320s. Asia and Philippine Airlines took a huge hit from the Asian financial crisis of 1997. The airline, with the refleeting program, proved to be too costly for operations, and the company was forced to lay off staff. This led to a 14-day shutdown of the airline in 1998 after disputes between the airline's labor union and the company management broke down. Operations would resume after the Philippine government facilitated a deal for limited operations. Like many firms in the region, Philippine Airlines had to lick its wounds from the crisis and the labor strike. A new 10-year rehabilitation plan was implemented. Under the plan, the airline would receive a cash infusion, operate a limited fleet of 22 jets, dispose or sell its non-core assets such as its maintenance division, and consolidate its operations to just one terminal. Over the next few years, the airline began operating solely from Manila Airport's Terminal 2 and gradually resumed the routes it ceased following the shutdown. The airline's parent company would then purchase a stake in rival Air Philippines, which would later be absorbed into the Philippine Airlines brand as a low-cost subsidiary, PAL Express, in the late 2000s. Following the rehab period, 2012 saw San Miguel Corporation, known for its popular beer brand and other business ventures, acquire a majority stake in the airline. With new ambitions, the airline would purchase 54 Airbus A321 and A330 jets and replace the Boeing 747s with new modern Boeing 777-300ERs. The in-flight products and services were upgraded. The airline also added new long-haul services to London, Toronto, and New York. Using the Airbus A321 and A330 aircraft, Philippine Airlines continued to grow its network with new destinations in Asia and the Middle East. As the airline continued to ride the wave of economic growth in the Philippines, Lucio Tan would eventually buy back the majority stake he sold 2 years prior to the San Miguel Group. After taking back the helm, the airline acquired the new Airbus A350 aircraft. Philippine Airlines achieved 2 milestones in 2018, the first being awarded the 4-star Skytrax airline rating and making its New York services a nonstop flight. The 17-hour nonstop flight between Manila and New York is among the world's longest flights. While it has ceded the title of the largest airline in the Philippines in terms of passengers traveled to rival Cebu Pacific, Philippine Airlines is still recognized as the flag carrier of the country. Philippine Airlines aircraft are chartered by the government when the president of the country travels overseas and has had the privilege of carrying 2 popes during their trips to the predominantly Catholic nation. With ambitions to join the exclusive club of 5-star Skytrax airlines, Philippine Airlines has a bright-looking future. During the mid to late 1990s, Philippine Airlines' marketing campaign had a slogan calling it Asia's sunniest airline. Now more than ever, Philippine Airlines appears to be truly Asia's brightest airline. This channel, Flights in Asia, will feature more updates and insights about travel and aviation in the Asia-Pacific region. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe.